Today, I'm joined for the second time on the Perception Coach podcast by Travis Boak. Travis is one of Port Adelaide's all-time greats and one of Australian Football League's most respected leaders. Across an incredible 19-year career, Travis became Port Adelaide's games record holder. He captained the club for 6 seasons, earned 3 All-Australian selections, won 2 John Cahill medals as the club's best and fairest, and he was also recognised with the Jim Steins Community Leadership Award for his amazing work with the Childhood Cancer Association. Beyond all the stats and the honours, Travis is known for his leadership, resilience and perspective, and also being an all-round top bloke. I've had the privilege of working with Travis on his mindset over the past 5 years, and today we're diving into the inner game that shaped his remarkable career and his new book, The Power Within. I'd like to welcome Travis to the show. Let's dive in.
Mate, it's great to be on the show. Great to be on for a second time. Looking forward to delving into Boak and having a good chat.
Good to have you back, and I appreciate you joining me. I know it's been a crazy time with you getting the book out there, and you've been out in the stores, signing lots of books. How's that all been?
Mate, it's been a crazy week. It's been a fun week though. So had probably about 6 signing sessions here in Adelaide, and a couple of talking events just to sort of go through the book and sort of talk what it's all about. But yeah, we had a fire alarm go off at one of the events, which was wild, and we had a bit of a stampede back in. But I think that the best part about it's like hearing all the stories that people have shared through reading the book and how they've connected with different stories and how it's helped them in a different way. I wanted to make it about more than footy, right? And make it about my journey and ups and downs of life, and downs of footy, how I overcome things. And obviously there's a lot in there about my dad and my dad passing away. But yeah, people sharing their stories and how they've connected in different ways and how it's helped them has been really good to hear.
Yeah, I've been diving into the book myself and just learning about your journey and all the way from the beginning, how you started out as a player and your relationship with your dad and how much he shaped you as well. It's really, really fascinating for how you've got to where you've got today. And I want to get into more about the book, but I do want to dive in straight away and find out about, you spent nearly 2 decades now performing at the top level in one of the most demanding sports in the world. And most people dream of reaching the top of their profession, but few actually do. And from your experience, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get to the top of their field or profession and be able to stay there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sacrifice that definitely comes with it. But I feel like the thing that kept me going, certainly there's going to be periods for me that during my career that I was like, I'm done. I can't keep going anymore. And that probably happened about 5 or 6 times, right? But I think the key to longevity and finding is finding your passion again and again. Like, what's my purpose in what I'm doing? And that changes throughout your whole career. So when I first started out, my purpose for playing was just to play and play a game for Port Adelaide. This is my dream. I want to play a one game in the AFL. Like that's what I grew up wanting to do. Then 5 or 6 years, what's my purpose now? Well, I now want to cement myself in the AFL. I want to be a regular part of this team. I want to be a leader, a part of this footy club. And then another 5 years on, you're in a different journey again. You've had a pretty decent career so far. Well, now what's my purpose? It starts to move outside of yourself. I think that's kind of the journey that I went on. And I think people talk about it being a hero's journey, right? Like that was me for part of my footy career. And I think that's the part of longevity is finding what your purpose is and what your why is in what you're doing. And it's the same in any industry. It could be, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, whatever it is, but it's about finding a purpose in what you're doing. And I think that for me and self-discovery and the chats that we've had about, why am I doing what I'm doing? What lights me up? What's the joy that bring me in footy? And being able to find that is kind of why, I continue to go for 19 years. And I think that then motivates you to do all the hard stuff, the preparation, the diet, the amount of sleep you got to get, the sacrifice you have to make, because there's so much joy there in what you're doing, and you're doing it for more than yourself.
Yeah, so really tapping into the passion and your purpose. And you said that's changed over your entire career. Would you say that's changed several times throughout the journey? And what did that look like?
Oh, for sure. I would say it would have changed maybe 5 or 6 times throughout my journey, right? Like my purpose now as a 37-year-old is completely different to what it was as an 18-year-old. And I think there was definitely times where I thought now my joy and purpose had to come from exactly what it did when I was 18, and I'm trying to find it again. And you're reaching for things, and we have these discussions where I'm trying to fix something to get something back, right? Like that's a lot of what I was trying to do. But it was more just, okay, well, what's making me happy now? What's the joy in footy now that footy's bringing me? And really just self discovery of, okay, well, what lights me up now? Like, what is it that makes me get out of bed and go do what I do? And then the training, the rest of having to sit on the bike for an hour, having to go for a run every day, gym, all that stuff that comes with it, is just becomes part of it. And my purpose for the last 3 or 4 years was to inspire others to chase their dreams regardless of age. Like that was the thing in footy that once you get to 30, you start to decline and be playing good footy, all that kind of stuff. Well, you know what? Like stuff that I'm going to prove that I'm going to put enough preparation in to inspire others to go chase their dreams, regardless of the situation they're in, the age that they are, whatever that is. And that's kind of what inspired me to continue to get better. And that wasn't there when I was 18. It was just, okay, I'm going to be the best player I possibly can be, and it kind of transitioned into that purpose outside of myself.
And how much would you say, of that passion is doing it for you and that genuine enjoyment that you get from playing footy to doing it for others and what you can contribute and what you can give?
Well, I honestly think everything still comes from within, right? Like I'm still wanting to inspire others to go after their dreams, but that comes from within me and my energy within myself to be the best I possibly can, right? And then that hopefully will inspire others. But I was listening to something the other day. They were talking about I think it was on a podcast that if you do it for yourself and the reasons that you enjoy something, then other people will connect to it so much more. When you're doing it for other people and you're trying to please other people, it's not as authentic and people connect in a way, right? So it has to come from within, and it just felt like this energy of, okay, I want to really do this and be the best possible version of this athlete I can possibly be and chase these wild dreams and wild goals, regardless if I get there or not, just to hopefully inspire some other people. But it all came from.
I think that's so powerful, the way you've articulated that and how you described that journey, because a lot of people can be thinking, oh, I need to do it for everybody else. And then they're just sacrificing themselves or just giving because they think that's the right thing to do. But they're missing that piece of you are doing it for yourself. You are improving yourself and getting better and enjoying it as well. And then you have that to give. And I think that's something that's really important. Otherwise, it does just become pleasing and the tank can be empty because you're not really doing it because you want to do it because you love it,
No, exactly right, and that's where you lose the energy. That's where the burnout comes in. You don't want to get out of bed because it's all for other people, and there's not as much energy there when it comes for other people. I reckon that was me at the start of my career to a point, right? It was I'm trying to do it to find validation, to please others, and then my identity starts to attach to other people's opinions, and then eventually you get to a point where it's like, I just can't do it anymore. And then you switch back to going to within and you find your energy. It just feels unlimited.
Yeah. And what does that mean to you? Because I know the title of your book is The Power Within. What does that mean to you, having the power within?
Yeah, and it's funny how it came about. Like obviously, the power is our football team, Port Adelaide Power. So kind of a play on words a little bit, but for me, it's about unlocking your true purpose and your why. The power that you have within inside you to then go out and be your authentic self in whatever it is you want to do. that's kind of the journey that I go on in the book, and what we talk about from where I was, the perspective I had, the identity that I had created for myself, to then unlocking what was actually inside me and the true power I had, and that's, chasing your dreams, being able to face adversity and show up as yourself. And I just feel like, I unlocked this power that I had, just by being myself, right? And going out there and exploring the world, being vulnerable, showing up, having courage to be on the footy field, to go into to different environments that, created some fear, was a powerful change for me. And that's kind of where the title came from, going from a person that was, super anxious, playing footy, had a mask on, had to be perfect, trying to please others, to taking that mask off and finding what was actually true to me. And that was kind of the unlocking of the power within, and going out there and being myself.
Yeah, and were there any changes you had to make in order to access your authenticity and navigate the fact that you're a human being and showing up, and you're also then performing at a high level as well? So there's the footy player and there's also the human. Like, how you navigated that internal journey?
I think the thing that I had to do most was sit there and get clear on, how I was talking to myself, how I was perceiving things, and really unlock kind of the tools that I was using to, project myself in a way, right? So the way I was doing that was, I had to be perfect in everything that I did. I had a lot of control over everything. I had to make sure my environment was super controlled, and then also the way I was perceiving myself and the identity that I'd created. So that was a sit down conversation. We had a conversation about it, like ongoing conversations about it. It wasn't just a one off thing. It was more unlocking, how I was perceiving myself, and that was through the identity of football and, performance. So every time I went out on the footy field and performed, like, if it was a bad performance, I was a bad person. If it was a good performance, okay, I survived. Like, this was kind of the language and the understanding of who I was, right? And I think it was like a self exploration sort of period where, how do I perceive myself? How do I see myself? And that was it. And I think it wasn't until I started to understand how I was talking to myself, how I was perceiving myself, how I fitted in or thought I fitted in. I couldn't change it until I actually went on that, and then understanding, okay, well, I don't have to be perfect. I can be vulnerable. This whole perception of me as a male person wasn't actually someone I had to be, and you know, the biggest change for me was starting to understand it's okay to be me, right? And that was kind of the biggest shift, and I talk about it in the book, where I didn't have to be this version of myself I thought I had to be, which was this athlete, had to be strong all the time. Talk about it, losing my dad. I had to be this strong male that couldn't have emotions, had to show up and be perfect and not know anything. Like, had to be this perfect version of a male that showed up, and now understanding that I can be vulnerable, I can have emotions, and still be a strong male.
Yeah, and you said that, and I want to get into more about how your relationship with your dad shaped you, and also losing him at a young age as well. But you mentioned like control and needing to control your environment.
Mm.
How much did that help, and at what point did you have to give away some control in order to really be yourself and go to the next level?
Yeah, look, I think, and it's funny because it's like, well, I think I went through a period of going, okay, I can't control anything. Now I'll let that go. I'm angry that I was going through that period of trying to control everything. But now I look at it, and I'm not angry that I went through that. Like, I'm not annoyed at myself for being that person. I'm actually grateful for that for that person that was trying to be perfect and had to control things. Because you know what, it actually taught me a lot about how to train at a high level and get to a level of discipline and sacrifice that gets me to a high level of performance. And so I'm grateful for that. I learnt, a lot of that stuff, but then also being able to let that go and then go to another level because I was able to let that go, and I was able to then enjoy the same level of discipline, the same level of preparation, but understanding that it doesn't have to go perfect to still be a really good performance. Like that was something that I probably unlocked. It's not one way or the other. It's being able to understand that I can have a high level of preparation and want things to go a certain way. They just don't need to go a certain way to have high performance. So it was funny that I was able to recognize that and not be angry or disappointed that I was that person. And that got me through something pretty challenging, losing dad, and kept me safe from a lot of things, but also I wasn't able to unlock my full potential until I was able to let that go. But I'm glad I went through that period of doing it, because it taught me a lot of stuff. It taught me how to prepare really well, discipline, all that kind of stuff. But being able to let it go now allows me to enjoy it a lot more and still have those levels of preparation.
Yeah, so it's not so black and white of don't control anything and you can just slack and do whatever you want. And at the same time, it's not control everything. It's a case of you realize you can control all of these factors. You can work super hard. And I know one of the things about you that is one of your best assets that allowed you to create a lot of success is no one really is going to out prepare Travis Boak.
Yeah.
Like, he works super hard. You're really dedicated. You're really disciplined, and you outwork everybody which has allowed you to go on so far. And at the same time, you can do that and then let go. So rather than keeping on, holding on and having that pressure, you can actually let it go and relax and enjoy it. So instead of having to succeed, you can want to succeed. Are there any tools or strategies that you've applied to help you with that? Or is it simply an inner shift?
I think definitely the biggest thing was an inner shift, but I think the thing that I understood most was, why am I doing it? What am I doing it for? And I think the control thing came because I had to have an outcome, right? This is the outcome that had to happen. And so my whole preparation around trying to perform didn't actually change. It actually got even more detailed, right? Like, I even got more obsessed with trying to be my best self. But I got to that point because it was, okay, I don't need this outcome. I want this outcome really bad because I want to achieve these wild dreams that I'm chasing, these wild goals that I'm chasing, but I don't have to control every aspect to get there. And that was, so I guess the inner shift was letting go of the outcome. And because that was the bit that I couldn't control. But what I could control was how I got there and the journey that I was on to try and set it up, right? So my whole book was around over prepared. And, I did everything to a T, right? Like, everything was dialed in. But 10 years ago, when I was preparing, everything had to go exactly how I wanted it to go. And if it didn't, I had to keep going until it was right. But the thing and that's because I needed an outcome. And I thought, if I did this, then I'll get the outcome. So being able to shift from, needing a certain outcome or being so attached to that outcome allowed me to be so much more present and enjoy that journey of preparation so much more in whatever it was. And I guess people would ask, you're so dialed in on preparation and love to train really hard, but it got to a point where it was just pure joy out of it, because I knew that no one else was going to this level, and it was exciting that I was unlocking things within me that I didn't know I had, and that all came from letting go of an outcome. So that was probably the biggest shift, being able to, I guess, face knowing that I might fail, that things might get difficult, things might get uncomfortable, and letting go of that outcome and the talks that we've had about having the courage to sit with it and get there. And I think that allowed me to then go on the journey of letting go of control.
Yeah. And that's what that vulnerability is, right? It is when you cannot control the outcome, but you're actually taking the step and you're putting something at risk, and you're putting yourself at risk emotionally. And, it feels really uncomfortable, but that surrender really opens things up. And I think what you share about the why, knowing why you're doing it, that's so important, because ultimately, really, when we're really trying to go for it and we're controlling the outcome, the why is fear. It's just pure fear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm afraid, what are people going to think of me, or what's going to happen if I do fail? But the why, when you're going for that and you can let go, is driven by love, but by passion, by purpose. And that's what
Exactly.
you were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, where I think you really sharing something that's going to be so valuable for so many people, because so many of us can go all the way through our careers and get to the end of it and just think, well, I achieved all this stuff, but what was the point? And I
Yeah.
didn't even enjoy it, and
What did I do
especially
it for?
high performers, because it can be so motivating and so driving, but then you don't enjoy it. I know.
100%. And it's like, are we doing it externally or am I doing it internally? Like, it comes back to that. And one of the things that I came up with, it was literally before a game, right? So it was 2019. I woke up in the morning. We had a night game. It was a big game. It was like an Anzac Day game, which was a massive event for our footy club. And I woke up in the morning and I'd had a great start to the year. Like, first 4 games, I was dominating, and I woke up in the morning and I was so anxious, man. Like, I was petrified. Like, I was just overthinking everything, and I was thinking I was just going to fail, and it was going to be horrible. Like, I was in a state of absolute panic, and it was so weird. And then I rang our mindset guy at the club, like, mate, this is going on. This is crazy. And we just sort of talked through a little bit, and then I came up with this thing, and I'm like, and it was like a triple A thing, right? I call it a triple A thing, and it was like, well, okay, I just have to allow everything, like, allow these emotions that are here. Like, I was trying to fight them and get rid of them, and like, no, I can't be anxious, I can't feel this or whatever to go into this game. I fully dialed in, and it was like, okay, I'm going to allow what's going on right now, and I'm going to accept it. Okay, it's here, it's here, and then alter, and then I'm going to alter what I can. Okay, or how can I alter this situation? All of a sudden, I started feeling, a lot better about myself. The emotions were starting to sort of fade. I wasn't trying to control anything. I wasn't trying to fix what was going on, and that's where I came up with this triple A mindset thing. That it was just like, hey, let's have all these things in place for my games going forward, and end up going into that game, and I was best on ground. Like, it just completely changed everything. And from that point, every game I wrote down triple A. All right, allow everything to come in. And a big thing for me was I wasn't allowed any of these emotions to come in, and if they were there, there was something wrong with me, and I needed to fix them straight away. And I think that's the bit that caused the anxiety and the stress and the control. And but being okay with these emotions, allowing them to come up, and then accepting them, and then altering what I can. So, that could be through breathing process, that could be going for a walk, whatever it is, right? But just being okay with them coming in is completely normal, right? It was my nervous system saying, "Hey, I don't feel so safe here, right? How do I get through this?" And I used to think that it was a bad thing, and I needed to control it or get rid of them because they weren't part of this perfect person that I had to be to perform. But allowing them just allowed me to then sit with it and go with being and stepping in the environment.
Yeah, I love that triple A. So allow, accept, and alter. And it's, if that first part, allow, doesn't happen, then you're just stuck trying to fix something or solve something that is natural,
Yep.
and is actually working with you if you allow it to happen. It was Fritz Perls said that fear is emotion without the breath. And so, like,
Right.
when you don't get the breath in and don't accept it and allow it to move through you, just get stuck. Sorry,
fear is excitement without the breath. So it's excitement without the breath. So it's like you've got that preparation coming in, but if you don't have the breath and don't settle into it and let it happen, it just gets stuck. And then you're trying to solve something you can't. And so going back to the beginning of the journey, and you were, making your way through your journey as a football player, and your dad, as I've been learning from the book, had so much of an impact on you and the relationship with you. And he was so supportive. And then to lose him at such a young age, what impact did that have on you, and how has that impacted you along your journey? And with everything that we've been talking about today.
Yeah, so Dad got sick, when I was about 15, and Mum told us that, they both sat us down and told us that Dad had cancer, and I didn't really know what that meant at the time. Now I know the full story of Dad being told he only had like 3 to 6 months to live at that time. We didn't know at the time. He battled for like 2 years with cancer, and that was like in and out of hospital. We had to ring ambulances to come and get him because he was so sick. And sitting in hospital for days, that kind of stuff was probably the worst part of it all. And I say all the time, like, Dad passing away wasn't actually the worst part. Seeing him go through that and sitting in hospital, seeing how cruel it was actually the hardest part to sort of deal with. When he passed away, it was like, for him, it was a release from all the pain that he was in and in what he was going through. Obviously, the hardest point of not being able to see him anymore, but that period of him being sick was really, really challenging. Dad was kind of like my idol, right? Like, he was there constantly. He was the one that allowed me to be me, and I knew that I had his support unconditionally all the time, and that I was unconditionally enough and worthy as I am, because he was able to show me that and guide me to a point where it wasn't about performance, it wasn't about what I did. Like, that stuff was the stuff that I lost in terms of, once he passed away, it was like, well, where's my support now? Like, where's the person that helped me know that I was enough as I am, that I belonged as I was. And I didn't really understand that until, later on. And I guess that's where the armor came on, from the point when he passed away. And it was in some way that it was like, okay, now he passed away, I have to protect myself and I have to become this other person, because this is what happens in life. We're vulnerable, right? Like, these sort of things were what was happening. And I guess that's where I became the footballer, and my identity changed to everything about performance. And football was what I loved, but then it's kind of what I went into, and that's created the identity of who I was. Basically, I was doing all of it to try and prove to Dad that I was still enough, or that I wanted his love, and this is how I was trying to get it. And to talk about in the book as well, sitting in the car on the way home from a game and wanting Dad to be there, just to say, hey, how did I go? Like, that support, which I never got to do again, and that was the hardest part of it all. And to go through that journey was pretty tough. Not feeling like not knowing if he was proud of me or not, and that he believed in me, right? Like, that's the bit that I kind of lost, and I started to not believe in myself, and I had a lot of self-doubt once he passed away, because he was the one that, and it wasn't because like he told me that I was good at football. It was the fact that I could handle if I failed. That was kind of what he taught me, and I kind of lost that a fair bit, but was able to kind of rediscover that when I went back to early memories and kind of tapped into the early memories of being in the backyard with him and understanding, what he showed me and mirrored me, like that I was unconditionally enough and lovable and worthy and all that, just as I am. And, that's what he showed me. Being able to go back to that memory instead of all the painful stuff from when he passed away was a huge shift for me. And that kind of then unlocked, the true me within inside of me to then go out and just be myself. So that was kind of the journey that I went on from Dad passing away, from not being able to believe in myself because he was the one that was there to support me, to then actually going back to those early happiest memories and unlocking it again.
And how much is that, accessing those memories and what you experienced in the connection with him, how much is that linked to that purpose and passion that you have for performing and being able to give and also access your own power?
Well, it's the key to unlocking it, right? Like, I think, when we're stuck in who we think we're supposed to be based on, I'm not enough or I'm not worthy, we're doing it for other people and we're doing it for the external. And we're not actually tapping into our why, right? So going back to our earliest, happiest memories and who we were as a kid, and writing down the things that we love to do, and the things that lit us up, like the things we enjoy the most, like going back to that period before life took over and told us how we had to be, unlocks our real passion and our real purpose. It's the kid inside us that wanted to be a scientist, or wanted to go to space, or wanted to be an athlete, whatever it is, right? Like it's a real dream within inside us, and that was the kid that had no fear of judgment or no fear of what other people might think. Based on just pure joy of being a kid, right, and chasing your dreams. Like that's the bit we need to unlock and get and get back to, because life throws all this stuff at us: how we should be, how we should act, what we should think, based on trying to belong or trying to fit in. And the reality is we already belong. We don't have to trying to fit into anyway, but we just need to unlock what was actually there in our true calling. And I guess that's where the whole power within comes as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, many of us do end up getting put into boxes at some stages in our lives, or putting ourselves into those boxes mentally, trying to protect ourselves or stay safe, or be what other people want us to be. But being able to reconnect with that unconditioned part that's free and joyful. I can hear it in when you're speaking and sharing about it. Just the energy of it is just amazing to experience. If someone out there that they're wanting to tap into that for themselves, what advice would you give them?
I think, the number one advice I'll give them is like, go talk to someone about. I don't think you can do it by yourself, right? Like, whether that's a professional coach, whether that's a psychologist, whether that's a family member, whatever it is, right? I think you need to go on a journey of self-exploration, and what that is just really understanding who you are. And I don't think you can do that alone. I think for many years I was trying to do it by myself, and I was doing it the wrong way, only because I didn't have the tools to do it right. And I think that's where a professional in that sense comes in, to just help guide you with the right tools and the right questions. I think that's the biggest thing, is you've just got to ask the right questions, and it's the questions to yourself, right? And I think that's the part of it. And so that would be my initial advice, is to navigate it with support from someone else, and then just try and be super vulnerable in terms of asking yourself questions to go back to the things that you enjoy the most, and go on that journey of trying to undiscover what that kid inside you is really passionate about. And like, it's not easy thing to do, because there's a lot of pain there, a lot of things that you covered up. But that would be the start of it, and then just lean into it all, because I think there's so many times where you want to protect yourself. There's so many times where fear will kick in that you listen to it. And you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to show up. You don't want to chase those dreams because someone might not accept it, someone might reject you, someone might say something about it, but it's if you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to get smacked. Like that's just the part of it. Like that's the journey you go on. But I guarantee you, it's worth it. So to be able to lean in is probably the part of it, and accept what comes with it, because it's a fun and rocky journey, but it's a powerful one.
Yeah, I think it's really important advice because, there is only so far we can go on our own, and there's only so much we can see, because we're looking at the world through our lens, and having other people reflect it back and share. They can just start to help you uncover parts of yourself that you might not know. I know you've worked with many different people in both on the physical performance and the mental performance, and you've had a team around you of different perspectives and experts to be able to help you not only get the best out of yourself, but also enjoy life and be happy. And I think, it is really vulnerable doing this work and kind of opening the box. But ultimately, if we don't open the box and look in there at some of the things that we're afraid to see or that are going to be uncomfortable, you also don't get the things that are really joyful and really fun and that allow us to connect, So it's about really experiencing all of it.
Mate, exactly. And you touched on there, like the lens that we see life in, that's just the lens that we see it, right? Like that's our perspective on life and how we are. Like that can change. You just need someone to help you see it in a different light. And I guess that's where, working with yourself and working with the people that I had around me just allowed me to see life in a different way. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to be perfect, or you can have these emotions. Like you just know these things based on what you've been conditioned to know, and like that's how you see life. It's not how it is. It's not how it has to be. But being guided in a different way and being open to being guided in a different way allows you to then see it from a different perspective, and that's all it is. It's just a perspective change on life. Like someone will have an opinion on one thing, and someone will have a different opinion on that same thing, right? Like it's just how you view life, and I think being open to explore that and being open to see it in a different way allows you to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many different the lens that we have, the perspective. There's a whole number of rules in there, and rules can be helpful. It's like when you're playing footy, you have rules that make the game work. But when other people come along and impose rules, or we put extra rules in that are just not helpful, and we never question them, you never know that they can actually change. And so many of the rules we think we have are completely optional. There's the classic things that people say, like men don't cry, and it's like, well, who made that rule up? It's stupid, right? And you allow yourself to experience it, and then you see other people like, oh, they can do that, I can do that too. And it's like, maybe I've been believing a rule or a lie, or I have some sort of perception that is blocking me from experiencing freedom in life. And then once you start stripping those away, that child and that energy inside you that you're talking about is like gets accessed, and there's a whole different world there.
Mate, exactly. And that's the thing, like, is
this perception of what I think creating anxiety, or is it creating freedom, right? Like my whole perspective on failing was like, well, if I fail, I'm a failure. Okay, so it's like, everything about performance became failing was like, I'm a terrible person now because I failed, to then going, well, failure is, I love it. Like it means I showed up. It's a chance to learn. It's a chance to grow. And then all of a sudden there's no anxiety around failing anymore. It's a chance to get better. And the biggest perspective change for me, and this was, this is in the book, a story in the book with Sam Palpepper, a teammate of mine, was on the change of, being my perspective on Dad passing away, where it used to be, poor me, victim mindset, and the world's a bad place. Like they were the kind of things, and that's how I viewed the world. For him to then share his story, where I thought that every person that had a bad relationship with their dad, I was really angry at. I was like, how can you not have a good relationship with your dad? Mine was taken away from me. That's bullshit. Like all this kind of stuff. For them to hear, he then shared his story with me about his upbringing and all that, with his dad and the challenge that he faced, allowed me to shift my perspective on the journey that I went through, and I all of a sudden went from poor me victim to, and how lucky was I to have 16 amazing years with my dad, and learn what I learned, the things that he taught me, for him to allow me to be the best person I possibly could be. And that then shifted so much for me. Like, the world wasn't such a bad place, and gratitude in that allowed me to find gratitude in other things. And it was just all from a conversation and a vulnerable conversation with a close friend that allowed me to shift a perspective on it.
It's amazing, isn't it? And the fact that you were able to both have that conversation and be open enough to listen to each other and hear each other's perspectives, it makes so much sense from where you're both at, and it makes so much sense to be angry from where you're looking at it from, but being open to hear other perspectives or look at it differently, then it starts to open things up. And that's why empathy is so important. But if we're willing to just put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and just think, I wonder what they're thinking, or I wonder what they're experiencing, or why they're feeling that way, it just opens things up, and you gain more understanding. The things that didn't make sense make complete sense, and then you can have an option about what you're going to do with them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you're right. The power of conversation, the power of storytelling, and the power of listening, right? The power to sit there and listen and just hear it out from a different point of view. Like, I think if you can go in with a mindset of no one's right or wrong, it's just a matter of perspective, and just share it from your point of view, and then try and see and listen and understand someone else's point of view is a huge part of conversations. I think it allows deeper connection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing about story. We all have a story, and it's not just the journey, but it's our perspective around the journey. Is what did things mean, or how do we experience it, and how has that shaped who we are? And reading about your dad in the book, he sounded like an absolute legend. And I wish I could have met him, but I do feel like I've met him through you, and how much he's shaped you. And it sounds like he's been with you every time you're going out run out onto the pitch. He's there with you. What kind of, how would you say he has shaped your perspective and some of the attributes that you have today that you noticed about him?
Yeah, I reckon the values that he and Mum have taught me, and my sisters along the journey, and this is where I had to go through the process of finding that again, because I was so armored for so long, but being able to tap back into the things that he taught me when I was a kid, were the values of hard work, were being caring, being kind. These kind of things, but certainly the 2 years that he went through cancer, and fought and battled as hard as he possibly could to stay with us and to be a dad for us, even though that he was going through so much, was courage, and being able to overcome things that weren't in our favor. And I honestly think that helped me through my and the journey that I'm on, where we can face adversity and push through it, and get to the other side of it. And I think that was one of the things that he taught me the most was courage to show up regardless of the pain and the struggles that we're going through. So that was super super powerful for me, and I guess part of it as well, loyalty, where there was a period where I could have left the footy club, but honestly I think Dad was there, and what he taught me around loyalty was the reason that I stayed. That was a huge part of it, and I guess that's now where I share the journey in the book about what I learned from Dad, and the journey that I went on with him, and the things that he taught me. And I I had a signing session the other day, and there was a lady that come up to me post the signing session, who'd read the book, and she was with her daughter at the time, who would have been 12, 13, 14. And I was just about to get in my car, and she come up to me and said, look, I would love some advice. I've read your book on your dad, and it sounds amazing what he taught you. And he honorably said, "Look, I'm going through stomach cancer, or been through it, and I don't know, how long I've got, or if it's going to get me or whatever." And her daughter was standing right there, and she said she just wanted some advice on what she can leave for her daughter, and if she if she does pass away, like, what can I leave for my daughter? And I could see them both sort of like tearing up, and the only thing that I could think of, and this was like the journey that I'd been on, and understanding that what Dad taught me the most is that I'm unconditionally loved, and that's all we can leave for our kids, is knowing that they are unconditionally loved no matter what. They don't have to do anything, they don't have to achieve anything, they don't have to say anything, but they are unconditionally loved just as they are. And I think that was the bit that I understood from Dad, and being able to go back and understand is that, oh wow, okay, I am lovable just as I am, right? So that was a real powerful moment, because I was able to share that through the book and through a story within the book. And I could see them, tearing up. And as I was driving off, they were, hugging in the car, and it was just a powerful moment, right? Like, being able to share something like that to them, have an impact on someone else's life. And I hope it all goes well for them, and can get through a battle. But it was a powerful story.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gift to give them, and I think that the level of connection that comes from that unconditional love is just unmatched, and it just creates ripple effects. If you're showing up in that level of energy, not only do you connect with people, but you bring out the best in everybody. It really is a beautiful thing. And I think sharing your story and your journey, and as you've shared in your book, it's the whole story. What it for us, sharing a story, you share your own stories. It can be therapeutic, because you go back and you kind of like reliving it. What was it like for you to write the book and go back through your journey, as opposed to you having the actual experience of living it?
It was such a good process, because like it honestly felt like we were having a coaching session, right? Like, for hours on end. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, I was able to go through and talk through these stories, and it was honestly unlocking different perspectives on different things again, and remembering stories from a different angle. Like, when I kind of explained them I had a ghostwriter, Michael Gleason, who did the book, and he would interview me throughout 3 years. That was the process of different stories. So we'd start with, what was it like growing up, in the backyard with your dad, playing cricket, playing footy, and then obviously the story of cancer, and then getting drafted, and then facing first captain. And so we'd go through different scenarios, and we'd talk for hours and hours and hours based on those different stories. And the more I kind of went into each story, and the more I detail, and the more I sat with it and tried to explain it, I would see it from a different angle again and again and again. It was kind of just unlocking more freedom within me, basically, just from sharing my story. That was the cool part of it. It was honestly like it was going through a coaching session, being able to share a story and go, oh yeah, that happened, or I used to think it was that way and now it's this way. Like, it was a cool little process. And then to read it back on paper was like a little bit different. I was like, well, I don't know if anyone me talking about me. Like, it was a bit wild.
Do you know what though? I think it's so powerful, and what's funny is and this was pretty special for me. We both ended up launching our books on the same day, 30th of September. Crazy. I couldn't believe when I heard the date of your book. Both came out the same day, and I did a book launch for my book on Thursday last week with friends and family, and I'd shared my story, and it was with friends and family. And you think you know each other, but you don't hear the whole journey. You don't hear everything that goes on inside your head, and the twists and the turns. And I felt really self-indulgent sharing. But after about half an hour of talking, I felt so connected with everybody in the room. I could feel it. And it's really, when you share your story with people, they learn about you. And we want to know about each other, because you get to know each other and you understand each other. And not only that, but we see each other I see myself in you, and you'll see yourself in other people that you meet, and the people reading your story, they're going to see aspects of themselves in there, and it's a way that we connect. We've always connected through story, and that's, I was there like sharing my story. I was feeling really self-indulgent, but then I realized it was actually really giving to share the story, and it's vulnerable when you talk about yourself, and it is, you're putting yourself at risk and you're exposing yourself, but at the possibility of connecting with others and allowing other people to learn from your journey, from your lessons, from the challenges that you've overcome as well. And I think that's a real gift. And I think that people are really gonna. I've been diving into your book. I'm can't wait to keep reading, and I'm sure I'll be reading it all very quickly. Yeah.
Mate, it's crazy how we launched on the same day. Like I'm wild. It's wild that it happened, but it's so funny. My whole journey in my book and everything I've gone through connects to your book because they're the principles and everything that have helped me on that journey, right? So there's a connection there that the processes and the perfection and how to overcome certain things and the tools that actually help the journey is what my book's kind of taken you on. So it's funny how they're connected in that way, and they've come out on the same day. Somehow it's they're a book together.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the story, right? My book, Start Before You're Ready, is about being able to get out there and overcome some of those barriers that we have and some of those boxes that we get trapped in, so that you can do the things you want to do and you never quite feel ready for it. Your book's it's the journey of you, your perspective, who you are and what you're about, and it's gonna move a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of people queuing up to have your book signed and to dive into it. What can people expect from your book?
I think hopefully it can take them on a journey. Not just a footy journey, but a journey of where I perceive certain things, how I used to view life, before Dad passed away, then when Dad passed away. So my whole book starts with a lot about Dad, so it's for Dad, and the journey that we went on when he was sick, to then, how I kind of perceived everything in my life based on that story. So my whole first part of the book is about one view of the world and how I have to be, to then an unlocking of a different view of the world and how I want to show up. So then the back end of it is kind of a different perspective on life. So it's a journey based on two different views of how I perceive myself and how I perceive life, and the ups and downs and struggles and challenges of football and the world that we live in. But that's kind of the journey that will take you on, and then finishes with a bit of footy stuff, in my last couple of years, and the challenges that I faced there. But then also, it finishes with Dad at the end as well, and my whole gratitude around basically what I explained before. Poor me at the start, to being so grateful for the journey that I've been on, and that's kind of what the book's about, and unlocking. So in the middle part, there's an unlocking of who I really am and my true potential, which then took me on an amazing journey in footy, and then hopefully continue to in my next life. But it's hopefully people can connect in with that story and find their own power within, because it's all within us, and the journey we want to go on is all about unlocking that and not doing it for other people and doing it yourself, which then will help other people.
Yeah, I think this is really the key, is if you can find what really lights you up, what you really love doing, and you can then go and give that to the world. That's the whole game. And I think each of us has our own unique signature code of what we love doing, what we're curious about, and it's shaped by the people that we have connected with throughout life and our life experiences, and that's always going to be unique because everybody's going to have a different journey. It doesn't matter, you raise two kids the exact same way, they're going to turn out very, very different, and be very different people and want different things, because not only are they different people and with a different energy, but they've got different experiences that shape them. and tapping into that, your own unique gifts and talents, and then having the discipline, hard work to funnel that into something and then give it to people is really powerful. Um, can you talk about you have just recently retired
Yep.
from footy after a long career. What's that been like for you, that shift?
The first few weeks kind of just felt like it was off season, right? Like it just felt normal. And after I announced my retirement, I just felt this weight and freedom of I don't have to prepare my body just to get up for a game anymore. Like that's the part of me towards the end that I really struggled with, and why it was the right time to retire. I was struggling to put my shoes on. I was struggling to get out of bed. Like the mental side of having to prepare at that level just to get up for a game and then battle through a whole week again, trying to train, just got too much towards the end, and eventually it catches up on you, right? Your body can't keep doing it. So to know that I only had 3 weeks left of just having to do it was so freeing. And then finals come around. We went in the finals, and I was watching the finals, and I was like, yeah, sweet, I'm good. I don't miss it. Good. And then I was fortunate enough, being a retiree, to do a lap on grand final day to thank everyone. And that moment was the hardest. It was like, okay, sitting out there on the ground, there was 100,000 people before the game, like massive buzz, and knowing that I'm never going to be out there again, never going to get a chance to be on the stage to play at that level, was the bit that hurt the most. So that was really challenging. But after I did the lap and watched the game, I was like, no, I'm still okay with this decision. Hopefully be back there in some capacity in coaching or whatever it is. But knowing that my body couldn't do it anymore, and the mindset around performance at that level was just, it got to a point where it's okay, I'm done now. Like it's okay. Like I can walk away happy. So that was that was an experience. And then now I'm kind of excited for what's next. Like I'm so pumped and ready for what is next. And the same energy that I had to prepare and be the best athlete I possibly could be is now in the space of, okay, well now how can I take that and give it to someone else? And that's kind of the space I want to get into the performance coaching, the leadership, the culture. How can I now implement and share all the stuff that I've been through to someone else, or an environment where I can make a change? And I'm so pumped about that. So it's I didn't think I'd get to a point where I could walk away from footy and enjoy retiring, but I'm definitely there, and I'm excited for the next part of it.
Yeah, I know how tough that decision was for you to retire, and it sounds like it's absolutely was the right time for you, and it's great to hear the excitement about what's next for you. Can you talk a little bit about what's coming up next for you?
Yeah, so I'm going through the process now of talking to some footy clubs around what it looks like. How can I bring in the pieces of what I've learned and I'm really passionate about in terms of how to prepare, mindset, culture, leadership, how to bring a group together, all that kind of stuff. How does that then fit into a footy environment, and how much? Like, I probably don't want to go full time and work every single day at the club. It's been 19 years. Like I need some time away. So, how much in a footy environment do I want to do there, and then also, where can I do it in a corporate world, right? So the same kind of aspects. This is where the beauty of football and sport can blend into the corporate world as well, where we're all trying to achieve something, whether it's winning games, winning premierships, or whether it's selling products or building a business in some way. Like we're all trying to get to this outcome. How can we bring our environment together to best achieve that? How do we get performance out of our employees to be their best selves within a work environment? So how can I do that with a in the corporate world as well, which is exciting. So trying to blend both the footy environment and corporate in some way, and move into performance coaching and trying to basically unlock potential of each individual, each leader to be their best self, to then perform at their highest possible level within their environment.
Well, you're going to have so much gold to be able to take into both footy and the
the clubs that you can work with, and also into the corporate world of helping people, perform at the best with it, but without all of that pressure, and be able to let go of the outcome and actually perform but enjoy it, and also tap into that purpose and passion as well.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. I'm so excited by it, and everything's about the journey, right? It's not about the destination.
For sure. Well, yeah, this journey never ends, does it? But I can honestly say it's been beautiful watching your journey unfold, and just who you are as well. Like that unconditional love that you talk about, it's clear, it shows up in who you are and what you do, and that's why you're not just such a successful player, but a really well loved player, and really highly regarded as a player and as a human being and a leader. And I think it's testament to everything that you've created along your journey. And yeah, I'm excited to finish your book, and I'm sure the people listening are going to be excited to dive in if they haven't already. Those that want to check out Travis's book, here it is. It's The Power Within. I've been diving in, been enjoying it myself. Highly recommend giving it a read. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Travis. It's been amazing. I can't wait to listen to this back, and can't wait to share it with everybody as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this conversation. Appreciate you. And until next time, big love.